Some days you're the dog, other days you're the fire hydrant. And considering I didn't hear a lot of barking, especially in that first quarter from the OU side, I guess that kind of narrows it down, all right? One hell of a year, though, for the Oklahoma Sooners. Getting to the college football playoff for the second straight year. Another Big 12 championship, another Heisman Trophy winner. Of course, Hollywood Brown was first team All-American. We'll talk more about him later, and Kyler Murray and the rest of the Oklahoma Sooners. So I applaud the Sooners, and of course, after the HE double hockey sticks of what we'll call the first quarter, for the Sooners at least playing with determination and playing like they wanted to win the thing after that. At least they didn't quit, which we've seen several teams this postseason do when they get behind on the scoreboard. At least the Sooners played with determination, and at least they play with pride. So makes you real proud to be a Sooner fan, even though they come out on the short end of the scoreboard. 45-34, Bama. Showing why, again, they're the top team in college football, and, you know, we're going to get round 4 of Clemson and Alabama in the college football playoff, the third time in the past 4 years that the two will meet for the national championship. If you watched my Final Four playoff preview back in August, 4 months ago, like a lot of you, I picked Alabama and Clemson to meet for the national championship. Again, props to the Sooners for making it this far, but like I said, during my weekly matchup show earlier this week when I previewed Oklahoma and Alabama, I said Oklahoma's playing a team that's better than they are, and that showed, especially early on. And I thought the Oklahoma defense would have a difficult time. Yeah, they didn't give up 50 points, and they may not have given up 600 or 700 yards, but Bama still was able to score points, especially early, control the clock, and they were devastating on third down tonight. They were absolutely devastating on third down. 7 of 10 on third down tries were the Tide. Before I break this game down, I know that earlier in the week when I aired my weekly matchup show, you might have remembered me picking Alabama to win. While many of you understood that pick, a lot of Oklahoma Sooner fans understood it and still respected it, even if they didn't agree with it, there were some fans from Oklahoma that took shots at me. I had one that said, you know, you shouldn't be wearing an Oklahoma shirt. You know, you should be ashamed of yourself for wearing an Oklahoma shirt for making that pick. Had another one that said that you're a Crimson Tide fan. And I had another one that said, you know, I think Oklahoma, you know, is going to win based upon 2013. We're in a whole nother year, everybody. Stakes are higher, 2 different teams, different matchup altogether. And rarely do I pick against Oklahoma. I've been doing this since 2009. Took a couple of years off during that stretch, but I've been doing this for several years. Rarely do I pick against Oklahoma. And whoever I pick for the upcoming Sooner game, I base it upon knowledge, upon facts, upon the matchup itself. I didn't pick Alabama to beat Oklahoma because O comes after A in the alphabet, okay? I didn't pick Oklahoma in this game because I did not think the Oklahoma defense would have a lot of success tonight against Alabama. I thought this would be the toughest matchup for the Sooner defense. The defense that has struggled against good offenses, and once again, that showed. So for those Sooner fans who basically called me out because I didn't pick the Sooners, I know you'll be watching me again, okay? It's that simple. I know you'll be watching me again when we resume the shows next year. So that doesn't worry me at all, all right? And thanks for contributing to my viewer count as well. This show is not for everybody, okay? If you are a diehard Sooner fan who wants me just to pick Oklahoma, even if they were to play the Kansas City Chiefs or the Dallas Cowboys next week, don't watch me, okay? Because that's not me. I'm sure there are some bloggers out there that will pick Oklahoma even if they were to play the New England Patriots or if they were to play the New Orleans Saints. But if you want someone that's going to break the game down, give you as much facts as possible, and the matchup itself between the two teams, regardless of who I pick, then this show is a must for you. So for those who were open-minded about my pick, thank you very much. And for those who can't stand me because of it, I'm not forcing you to watch the show, but I know you'll watch it again. All right, let's break down the game of what we saw, and you can instantly say, well, if it wasn't for that nasty HE double hockey sticks first quarter, in which Bama outscored Oklahoma 28-0, the worst first quarter of football I've ever seen in my life as a Sooner fan, where the Alabama front four dominated the Oklahoma offensive line, where Kyler Murray couldn't do much, where OU seldom used the running backs in that first quarter, and Sermon and then Brooks, and where the Oklahoma defense could not slow down Alabama to save their skins. You can say, well, if it wasn't for that, well, you know what? It happened. It was reality. It happened. You're down 4 scores just 40 minutes after the national anthem was sung. I give the Sooners credit for not quitting. I give them credit for playing better after that first quarter. Even on the defensive side, it wasn't the train wreck that we saw in the first quarter. But here's the situation, okay? Tua Tagovailoa was nearly unstoppable, especially on the slant patterns where the Sooners had no shot at all. And you might be thinking, well, the Sooners didn't give up very big plays. They didn't give up 50 or 60 points. They didn't give up 600 or 700 yards, which we've been used to seeing. Still, though, it's one of those things where Alabama was going to take what Oklahoma was going to offer, okay? I'll say that again. Alabama was going to take what Oklahoma was going to offer, meaning a nickel here, 5 or 6 yard run, a dime here on a 10-yard pass. And by the way, 7 of 10, I think, what was it, on third down tries, 7 of 10 on third down conversions for the Tide. Alabama knew that they could get their yardage even if it wasn't of the long variety. And other than that opening drive, the opening play on that huge slant pattern play, the Sooners didn't give up the big play, but they still gave up yardage. And Bama had the ball almost 20 minutes in the first half. So the Tide still were able to control offensively. Touchdowns on the first 4 drives, and would have had a touchdown on the last drive before halftime, but of course were a victim of a couple of penalties in the red zone. So I will tell you this, though, okay, as far as the OU defense, I don't want it to be just completely negative Nancy. Trey Brown played his heart out tonight, okay? Superb coverage on that second touchdown, I think, that Alabama scored in the back of the end zone. Coverage was perfect, but the throw by Tagovailoa was on the money, and the receiver made one hell of a catch, staying in bounds and control. So I'm not saying that wasn't a catch. It didn't matter. Referees ruled it that way. But Trey Brown, even at times was not 100% tonight, still laid it all on the field. So thanks for showing pride, Trey Brown. But Alabama's offense, not just Tagovailoa, but also, too, you're looking at the efforts tonight of the Bama running backs and how they were able to establish control, running and receiving. Josh Jacobs, blasting past Robert Barnes. And I don't think Robert Barnes returned after that. So for the Sooner defense, I know it may not have been one of their worst games defensively. It's still, though, and we saw this as the game progressed, with the Sooner offense finally getting on track after that nightmarish first quarter. Sooners would get a touchdown, and very rarely would the Sooner defense be able to counter with a stop. They weren't able to. And the slant pattern, again, that was there for Tagovailoa and the Crimson Tide receivers all night long. By the way, neither team turned the ball over tonight. It was a turnover-free game. Now, for the Oklahoma offense, Kyler Murray, again, scrambling was very effective. Okay, not in the first quarter, but after that, he was effective. And he was basically the bulk of the running game tonight. Now, there were some interesting things about the OU offense. The Sooners finally got that first touchdown in quarter number 1. By the way, C.D. Lamb, Charleston Rambo, they were the big-time receivers tonight. They were, especially C.D. Lamb. But there were a couple of drives that Oklahoma had in this game that were in the red zone, and they only came out with field goals. I can understand down 28-7 in the second quarter going for a field goal, okay? But later in the game, I think it was early third quarter, where the Sooners were marching down 31-10, and the Sooners, again in the red zone, again decided to go for the field goal. That I questioned a little bit by Lincoln Riley, only because you knew your defense probably was not going to get too many stops from that moment forward, and you needed touchdowns to try to make a serious slice into the Crimson Tide lead. You're still down 3 scores at 31-13 from 31-10. Try to get that touchdown to make it 31-17, see what happens after that. But I thought Riley right there was just a little too conservative. Again, I think the world of Lincoln Riley, but I thought maybe a little too conservative at that point. I could see him going for the first field goal in the second quarter, but not for this second field goal in the third quarter. For the OU offense, they weren't always in rhythm. Kyler Murray, as effective as he was running until the fourth quarter, he just appeared not to be himself throwing the ball. Maybe a little anxious, maybe not too comfortable, but some of his passes were not on the money. And you really feel for Hollywood Brown, a homecoming from him because he's from, Hollywood, Florida, where the Sooners, by the way, stayed, the week of the game. And he dropped a couple of passes, but also, too, we knew that he was not fully ready to go. A frustrating night for Hollywood Brown, but again, a good night, though, for CeeDee Lamb and for Charleston Rambo. It was nice to see Nick Basquin get a big catch in the fourth quarter. The Sooners didn't quit. They did not quit. I give them credit for that. They just could not get within 2 scores. Even after onside kicks were unsuccessful, Alabama was able to reestablish control of the clock and the scoreboard. Sooners just could not get it any closer than 11 points. And like I said, the better team won. So congratulations to the Crimson Tide. January 7th, Santa Clara. Again, we're going to get another matchup between the Tigers, Dabo Swinney, who, by the way, their team just absolutely throttled Notre Dame. And that looked like a speed mismatch to me if you got to watch the Cotton Bowl. Notre Dame could not take advantage at all of Clemson's suspension to their fantastic defensive linemen. Tigers still were able to keep Notre Dame out of the end zone. For the Oklahoma Sooners, they're coming off a top 5 recruiting class, 5th in the country according to Rivals. They'll again be favored to win the Big 12, although they do lose key components. Of course, Kyler Murray looks like he's off to baseball. Be willing to bet you, dime to a donut, that the Hollywood Brown goes to the NFL. Several offensive linemen are lost, but the ground game and the receivers, despite the loss potentially at Brown to the next level, will still be top-notch. And defensively, we'll see who they hire for defensive coordinator. We'll see what direction that goes in. It will take a while. It will take a while. It's not going to happen overnight next season for the Sooner defense to be one of the better units around. The Sooners got this far in spite of a defense that finished pretty low in the country in many categories. And against Alabama, who decided, to take what Oklahoma was going to give them. Again, the Sooners didn't give up big plays tonight, not too many, but they still gave up yardage, they still gave up first downs, they still gave up a lot of possession, and of course, the Tide still got touchdowns. And that first quarter is going to be one that we'll look back on and say, damn, 28-0. But at least the Sooners kept battling the whole way and showed pride, so I can live with that. Thanks to Sooner Nation. Whether you agree with me or not throughout the entire season, thank you for watching. Again, another terrific year of Sooner football, and we'll see next year how 2018 unfolds. Texas is going to be tough. We'll see how West Virginia does now in the post-Will Grier era, and we'll see how the new coaches in the Big 12 do. Les Miles at Kansas, and, of course, Texas Tech and K-State with new hires, and Matt Campbell, even though they lost to Washington State in the Alamo Bowl, Iowa State's playing some high-quality football. And we'll see if TCU can bounce back after a mediocre season by their standards at 7-6. And Baylor, I'm not picking them to win the Big 12, but at least they're playing better, coming off a bowl win over Vanderbilt. And for the non-Sooner fans, I've had quite a few watch me over the years. Thank you for your continued support. We've had some new subscribers from UCLA, a few from, by the way, Alabama, and some from University of Texas, TCU, West Virginia. I appreciate all of you, non-Sooner fan or Sooner fan, for watching, as this is going to be our last show for a while now that the football season for OU is history. Final score, 45-34. I commend the Sooners for one hell of a year. It's just that tonight, Alabama showed why they're the top team in college football. And hopefully the Sooners at some point can get to that level where Bama and Clemson are. Just not quite there yet, but still one hell of a year for the guys from Norman, Oklahoma. And by the way, for the season, as far as the one more thing before I go, if you've been watching my 3 picks all year long, here are the final standings between me and the Coin. The Coin and I picked 3 games against the spread every week, and we did it from September all the way to the bowl game, to the conference championship games. 25 wins, 16 losses, and a tie. That's what the Coin and I finished this year. Tied 9 games above 500. That's better than last year. Boomer Sooner, and Happy New Year.